So the plan today is get the Fireblade out, let it have a little bit of sunlight. Very typical Karsha fault. That's what it does. At the end of today I'll pull that apart. And really what we're doing here is getting into some of the places I haven't been able to get to before. I've actually manually cleaned this area. So what I've ended up doing is using a Bulldog BDX and spraying it over the bike and then using a sponge to kind of rub it in, which is why everything's got that kind of matte finish to it. And it's just helping to dissolve all of the road grime that's built up, all of the tar that's built up, and it'll all come off in the wash. I'll be super careful around the headstock area. But again, all of this is looking grimy because it's covered in Bulldog BDX. That's just a road tar coming off the chassis now. It's like lovely. Very nice. So I'm going to jet it down, because if I leave it, it's only going to attract dust and debris, and so I might as well, everywhere I've been, it's just tar coming off so easily. It's lovely. Everywhere I've been on the motorcycle, I'm just going to degrease it, whatever you want to call it. Give it another spruce decontamination. So in other news, this is the offside panel for the 999. And I know it's not Honda related, but I rebuilt its engine. It's got forged pistons. As with any old motorcycle, you end up with a gazillion different parts and all different types of fittings. So what I'm treating the Ducati to are some machined D-Zeus fasteners. They are absolutely gorgeous. And at least all the fittings will be the same. And I noticed that that ain't looking too good. I'm totally going to clean this inside panel, I promise. But yeah, didn't actually realise that was a problem. Maybe it's just been breaking over time. So what I'm going to do is take this washer, I'm going to glue it right there. And that should make a really good fitting. I'm just really looking forward to the 2025 season with this motorcycle. It's going to be good. Still running it in. I think I've only done 70 miles. I've probably got to get it up to 600, then another oil change, and then I can keep myself occupied whilst the Honda Fireblade dries. There's still a ways to go. What I did notice is I've cleaned this chain up. So that's I'm pretty sure that's a 530, and it was installed on the motorcycle just before it got laid up. And so I've cleaned it up with Bulldog BDX. I'll degrease it and re-clean again. But look at that, for a, what should we say, 25-year-old chain? I'm going to use that. There's nothing wrong with that. Chains don't, if that came out of a packet, I'd use it. Looks all right to me. And no stuck links. So that's... I did think about replacing like the clutch cable and stuff, but actually there's nothing wrong with it, which is why I'm going to leave the engine casings like this, because they're not leaking, which is great. Adds a bit of patina to the bike, although there's going to be quite a stark contrast between this, the repainted fairings and tank. So again, these are not expensive, but it's the faffery of taking it all out, then realising that one of these is like hardly got any threads in it, and then having to recut it. And, So I think I'm at a point where I'm just going to get a season out of the bike, see how I get on with it, before I go crazy. These are going, snip snip. So I've cleaned the surface up with Scotch-Brite, bit of Gorilla Glue, brake cleaner to rinse everything off. So there's a bit of Gorilla Glue around there, and this should last the life of the motorbike. Beautiful. So there's a little toolbox talk for you. This is the rear hub, and behind there would be the cush drive, and obviously have a bearing. I've got a replacement bearing, so that's all good. But this is the original bearing from the Fireblade, and as you can see, it has a spacer behind it, whereas your aftermarkets, you don't get the spacer. And I can see a little bit of a lip in there. I'm just wondering how you, or should you have to separate it. It would be a really stupid idea to reuse the old bearing. It'd be a really stupid idea to fit the new bearing without the spacer. The reason for that spacer is so that everything along the spindle line fits beautifully. Otherwise, what's going to happen here is, as pressure is pushed on this bearing, there isn't going to be anything behind it. So it's going to very, very quickly wear out the inner race as pressure's being put on it. So the whole point of having spacers is to keep everything in line and everything rotating the same. So this spacer butts up against the wheel bearing that's on the alloy wheel. So it'll actually protrude that way. I'm going to push it all the way back in. And it will, once fitted, will be pushing against that other bearing, and it just stops any kind of cavitation, any kind of oddities. Everything's rolling in symmetry. So, I mean, I could put it in a vise and try tapping it out, but I think I'm going to go and take it to workshop too and see if we can just push that out nicely and then press this one in and have ourselves a proper job, eh? Interestingly, I haven't seen any videos on YouTube that address this issue at all. So either I'm not searching for the right thing, or all the guys that are doing restores are just bashing in a bearing. How to kill a bearing really, really quick. There you go. Nice. So here it is, the thing that's missing from all of the videos I've looked at. Fantastic. 23.29, not in stock. Ooh, okay. Good old eBay. It's only internationally shipped from Japan, but there it is, that sits inside of your bearing. So that's going to slip on the inner race there. Question is, how do we separate them nicely? Very pleased. I just put a little puller together and a couple of taps, and I was able to separate the spacer from the bearing. That was nice and easy. Now the faffery comes in disassembling it all and putting it all back, but no press required. That was good. So this is a very tight fit. What I want is that in there, but by hammering it, I risk it going in at a different angle, not fitting nicely. And what am I literally doing here is I'm whacking this inner race that has ball bearings in there, and I'm helping to deform the inner race, which will give it a shorter life. It is a Koyo bearing, but it feels lovely and slick. So I'm actually going to press it into place. And so before anyone says you can just push it in, it really is an interference fit. Oh, that's great. It's all cockeyed. Nice. Happy days. So before I fit the bearings into these, I'm going to send them off for powder coating. And yeah, I should have not fitted the new tyres, but on my initial assessment, I thought these alloys would be absolutely fine. And they do look nice, but they look even better if they were powder coated. So let's give them a nice fresh powder coating. And it's just, this one's quite glossy and this one's been resprayed at some point, and I can see the difference. So yeah, I was excited about the tyres, but I'm going to be even more excited about seeing these two back looking bling.